I will demonstrate one of my favorite painting subjects, which is snow scene. And for this I chose Carl Kenzler. His painting. He was a German artist who lived and worked around the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was also a seascape painter, and he depicted snow just an outstanding way. He has very subtle shifts in values and colors, and I will attempt to create a master copy of this painting. And if you enjoy my demonstration or find it useful, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I regularly post similar videos. So let's get started. As always, I'm using the same prismatic palette, except I added an additional color this time, which is transparent oxide red. And I will use this to block in or sketch this painting. As far as the approach goes, usually I have a toned canvas. This time, because most of the values in the painting are going to be relatively light, I decided to go with a completely white canvas, so I didn't tone it. As far as sketching goes, I will use some ultramarine blue and some of this transparent oxide red. I will also add a little bit of cad red to the mixture, and I dilute it with a little bit of Gamsol. That's my solvent. I just want to make sure this is thin, not too heavy or oily. As far as approaching the drawing, I generally don't create precise, detailed drawings. Rather, I like to create sketches. And for that, I'm using a simplified grid method. I'm not creating an actual grid. I'm just marking my halfway points on the canvas. And then after that, my quarter marks. I make quarter marks on it, and I did the same thing on the image that I'm using for this, the photo of the original painting. So I made the same marks on it, and that helps me to create more precise placement of each object or subject in the painting. So I will start with this simple drawing or sketch. I also like to remind everyone that the master copy, or usually the master copies that I create, are not exact replicas. And that is not my goal, to create an exact replica of the original. Rather, just take lessons and learn from the artist how to approach different subject matters. And that is exactly what I'm doing. So it will be a similar image to the original painting, but it's not going to be an exact replica. It is more for the purpose of a study than anything else, to learn from the master painter who created the original. So after a careful observation of this painting, I realized that the original had a little bit more of an elongated layout than my canvas. This is a 9x12 canvas, and that must have been longer, probably by an inch or so. So why it matters is it's going to be a little bit tricky to get the drawing to be close to the original or the sketching. So it will be a little bit different how it will look, the whole arrangement of shapes. And the other thing that I realized looking at the original or the photo of the original is that the artist more than likely blocked in the sky first before he painted the trees or shrubs. And it's visible when I took a close look, zoomed in on the parts where the sky and the trees meet. It is very obvious that all those smaller details were painted on top of an existing sky as opposed to blocking them in first. Normally I do the reverse. I start with my darks and block them in first and then do the background or foreground. But in this case I will try to copy the method of the original artist and block in the sky first. And as you can see, I had to erase some of my initial drawings or sketch and start it again because of this issue. It's still not going to be the same, but it will be similar or closer to the original. Again, the goal here is not to create a replica, so I'm not so worried about that. What I'd like to do and show you is how the artist approached the subject of snow, and he has done an amazing job doing so. And that is what I will focus on instead of the exact copy. In this phase, I will figure out the colors of the sky and snow and also the values. And for that, a pretty good tool is, when you are working from a photograph, is to turn it into a black and white, or at least have a black and white copy of the original photo. Because as you can see it on this one, it is, when you just look at the color picture, it is really hard to tell whether the shadows in the snow are same or different from the sky values. And as you can see it on the black and white, actually they are lighter, which of course makes some sense because there is still light coming through and hitting the Earth's surface from above, and snow has reflective qualities because it's so light. And the sky is rather a stormy sky. It's after the snow, so it still has some relatively dark clouds, and that makes it slightly darker than the shadows on the ground. Right now I'm mixing titanium white and ultramarine blue as a starting point. And to determine how dark or light to go first, it's good to have your lightest and darkest values determined. So I will make a small mixture of darks for the trees. So I have something to compare to, and I'm using ultramarine again, and this time I'm going to use some of my transparent oxide red to have my dark. This is probably a little bit too dark, especially for the tops of the tree that come in contact with the sky. So I will make this lighter just so I have a better idea. It has a tiny slight greenness to it, so I'm adding orange and yellow as well, or actually using them to make this mixture lighter. Also a little bit of red. It's a warm color, and this is a little bit closer to what I'm aiming for. It's still not it. I'm going to use a little bit of white or light blue to make it slightly grayer. Of course, I could use more red, which is a complementary of green, to gray it, but I also wanted to make it slightly lighter. So this is roughly my estimate what the tree tops will be. Might change a little bit, I might need to adjust it, but it is a starting point, and I can compare my sky value to this at least to get a rough idea how light or dark to make it. Now I will do the same thing for the snow shadows, for which I'm mixing again ultramarine blue with titanium white. This is the stage where I'm gonna start blocking in my sky, and of course adjust colors and values. I will start with my blue mixtures and just put it on the canvas so I get a better idea of what's going on. Really simply blocking in with the number 6 brush. This is a bristle brush. And I might be just a hair dark, but just for blocking in, I'm gonna keep it at this value. Now I will add a little bit of greener, lighter blue. This is the final blacking stage where I'm going to use or start using transparent oxide red again, and that's going to be my underpainting for the trees. Especially certain areas of the trees, I can see the strong red coming through that I'd like to make sure I capture right here, and some even here. The rest of them I'm adding a little bit of ultramarine blue to make it darker and a little bit cooler. I'm applying the paint thinly because this is a first layer, and I'm also adding a little bit of solvent, and I will have a little bit heavier layers in the subsequent layers. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier. This is the final phase of this painting or master copy, where I will build up the light on the trees and shrubs, starting with the darker, more muted colors, which are browns. And to mix those browns, I will use Cadmium Red Light mixed with Ultramarine Blue, and a little bit of yellow, and of course white. White will cool and lighten the mixture. Of course, also mutes the colors, grays it. I just need a little more. The other color that's in the painting is a very strong orange ochre color, and for that I will start with a cadmium yellow light, some white, cadmium red, orange. This is too much orange. I'm gonna have to add more red. And of course, ultramarine blue to tame the chroma in this mixture. Just a small amount. I like to add the blue just in small increments because I have more control over it that way. And a little more yellow, a little more white. This is my starting point, and I will have a little bit lighter mixture of the same color and also a little bit darker, so I can really control the form. This is the key painting, this part of the painting, where I have to pay attention to model these trees so they appear to have a three-dimensional shape as opposed to being flat. Right now they just blocked in as darks, and I will need to turn those darks into a form, or at least the suggestion. I have to create the suggestion or illusion of form by manipulating the colors and values that I add on top of those darks. And I will have a darker one of this too. I hope you enjoyed today's master copy demonstration, and perhaps you'll try one on your own. Also, I wanted to let you know, if you liked the painting that I just created, it is available for purchase. There's a link below this video. If you don't want to miss out on my next master copy, be sure to subscribe to my channel.